like to pay a utility bill?
We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order for the Stillwater Planning Commission, Tuesday, June 17th, 2014. First item on the agenda this evening for land use items for discussion and possible action, the Vintage of Stillwater LLC, map amendment PZ.14.1845, requesting review and approval to rezone a portion of property addressed as 499 and 519 South Jardo Road from RTM Residential Two-Family and Multifamily District to RMI Residential Multifamily Intermediate District. Mr. Coots.
Tom Coots, Development Services. Property in question is about 20 acres in size. It's hatched on the map. It's currently zoned RTM, which is Residential Two-Family and Multifamily. Surrounded on the north by some RSS, Residential Small Lot Single Family and Agricultural. To the east by the RTM District, the south by the Commercial General District, and the west by the RSL Residential Large Lot Single Family. The property is the location of the Vintage, and you may know that right now the Vintage, there's a first phase is on the property right now. Second phase is about to be under construction. They are requesting to rezone the property to the RMI District, Residential Multifamily Intermediate District. It allows for up to 30 units per acre and 50 feet in height for buildings. This property is, like all multifamily properties in the city, was zoned RM, which was residential multifamily, until the RM district was split up into 4 different multifamily classifications. And this one, since at the time it fit with the RTM district guidelines, that's why the RTM district was applied to this property in particular. And the applicant is here to, like I said, upzone the property to the RMI district, and imagine they'll explain a little bit more in detail about why. Staff findings include the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan does say that the area is appropriate for high-density residential uses, which is those above 12 units per acre. It would allow for 30 units per acre and a building height of 50 feet. There is, however, no RMI residential multifamily intermediate or greater zoning located in the vicinity. However, it is also located adjacent to commercial property and a minor arterial road, Jardo Road. That's my presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
All right. Thank you, Tom. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of the proposal, please step forward and state your name.
I'm Jimmy Hill, engineer for the applicant. I think you pretty well have the picture as to what's presented here. I would just point out that the property was, prior to the citywide rezoning, it was RM, which allowed 50 feet of height. It is now RTM, which has constrained the height to 35 feet, as you're well aware. We are asking for RMI, which would again allow 50 feet. I might point out that we do have a letter in March from Tom saying that the prior constraints could be carried forward as a non-conforming use, and that the building permit that's just been issued does include one apartment building that's 46.5 feet high, so it would exceed the current RTM zoning. The concept that this owner has is that he's finding he would prefer single bedroom units for the rental market that he serves, and that going 2-story is not as efficient for him as going 3-story. So the 46.5 foot building that has recently been issued a permit obviously is a 3-story. This, I think, allows actually a better situation in that whereas phase 2 of the Vintage had anticipated 5 buildings, the plan now has been modified to only 2 buildings, which goes a little higher, provides a similar number of units, but also provides a lot more green space, and a lot more space for recreational areas. And he feels, and certainly I agree, that it'll be a much more desirable development. I would point out that all of the owners within 300 feet have been properly notified as the code requires for this particular request on map amendment. But when it was rezoned on a citywide basis, the proper procedure was used under the law. I'm aware of that, but this owner received no notice whatever when he was constrained from RM down to RTM. I just point that out to suggest that you might want to consider sometime in the future adding a layer of process. I never like to talk about adding layers, but it would be good to notify the actual owner of the land when rezoning is anticipated, because it seems a little odd to rezone what he owns without notifying him, whereas to now rezone his, we notify all the people 300 feet around. Seems a little inconsistent. Just throw that out for what it's worth. That, I think, pretty well is the picture. If there's any questions, I'll try to respond to those.
Jimmy, is there going to be additional phases, I'm
Is
assuming?
it going to be what?
Additional phasing? I know you said
Yes.
one's built, you're getting into two. I know it's a
Good.
20-acre.
Good point, Dusty. Yes, this phase 1 and phase 2 only encompasses, 4 or 5 acres of the entire 20. I might say he doesn't have immediate plans for the remainder of the 20, but certainly in the future, the land is valuable and he would anticipate further development.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? All right.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. Ask Mr. Coots to come up for his alternatives.
Before we get into the alternatives, I did want to just announce, just in case anybody is listening on TV and whatnot, this case will actually be postponed to the July 21st City Council meeting. It was advertising went out, said July 7th, and so we're going to send new notice for the City Council meeting, just in case anybody wants to try to show up at the City Council meeting. Our alternatives include we can accept staff findings and recommend that the City Council approve the proposed map amendment as presented. We can find that the map amendment is not an appropriate use for the property based on the impacts to the surrounding vicinity and not recommend that the City Council approve the map amendment. Or we can find that additional information or discussion is needed prior to making a decision or recommendation and table a request to a certain date. Do you have any questions for me?
All right. Thank you, Tom. Any questions or discussion?
I just might say that it sounds like this owner kind of got caught up in the change when we did the rezone across town. Sounds like it had been through 2 other zonings changes, not really by their part. And on the, it's on a major road now with Jardo being improved. So I think it's it keeps it from being a non-conforming use.
Yeah.
And I like that.
So I'll second his motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Please place your votes. That does pass this evening. 6 yes and 1 abstain. Second item, plans, policies, ordinances for discussion and possible action is text amendment PZ.14.1852, requesting review and approval for a text amendment to Chapter 23, Article 5, Division 2, Accessory Use Categories and Regulations, Section 23.114, Mobile Food Service Establishment Courts. Mr. Coots?
Okay. Basically, this is a proposed new section to add to the city code. The section would allow what is kind of is known as food truck courts to be a principal or accessory use, and it establishes a method for them to apply to use the property in that manner. So what we're talking about is like these mobile food trucks that we see around town, and this would be kind of like a property that they would be able to be on there on a semi-permanent basis, basically almost every day type thing, and have more than one on the same property. So sort of encouraging you have more than one on a property that's kind of becomes a destination for people to go to. and so establish this as something else that people can do. And there are some other food truck related things in the mix as well. This is just one thing. Staff findings include this allows for additional uses on commercial properties, and requests will be reviewed for applicable commercial development review standards. You have any questions for me?
Is this, I guess, Tom, this is something we're seeing in other communities that we just haven't seen here in Stillwater before?
Yes.
I'd never heard of the concept.
I haven't either.
Yeah. And we're also, interested in staying ahead of the curve a little bit, so we don't want to get inundated with something and then
I think
have
Ms.
to catch up.
Jennison's, do you want to add something to it?
Paula Dennison, what Tom was saying is right along the lines. This is allowing and making it a little more permissive and less restrictive because they're not your typical use where they locate somewhere and they're there permanently and forever, or as long as their business continues. The food trucks, they're very mobile, and this particular item that you have before you will allow them to congregate with certain amenities that the public is going to come to expect when they go to any restaurant-type facility. But it's not just for the food trucks that are there at the time. It allows them to be interchangeable. So it's pretty permissive is what it does. Remove some of the restrictions that normally would occur.
So they congregate, if they congregate less than 45 days, then those amenities don't have to be in place.
That is correct.
But if they, no matter, if they congregate more than 45 days, which means they can move in food trucks, move out food trucks, but if food trucks are there, no matter what food trucks they are, more than 45 days, then they've got to have these things in here.
Yes, and one of the things that we have seen and what we expect that some property owner or developer will pick up on, as I give them a hint on television now, is go ahead and build the facilities and lease out the spaces for whatever food trucks may want to come and go. The permanency is already taken care of in that regard, and it's not up to the individual food trucks to get operators to get together and create that environment.
I've seen this on the Food Network. And
Ah,
it's very
yes.
popular across the United States, especially on the West Coast.
Yes. Any other questions for me while I'm up here on this item? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Discussion, comments?
Public hearing?
Public hearing, it's a good idea. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion. Anyone that would like to speak in favor, please step forward and state your name. Seeing none, anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. Mr. Coots, your alternatives.
Okay. You can accept staff findings and recommend that the city council approve the proposed text amendments as presented. Accept staff findings and recommend that the city council approve the proposed text amendments with identified changes. We can find that the proposed text amendments are not needed and recommend that they not be approved by city council.
Now discussion or questions?
I move we accept findings and recommend the city council approve the proposed text amendments as presented.
I second the motion.
We have first and second, any discussion? Place your votes. That does pass this evening. 6 yes and 1 abstain. Moving on, approval of meeting summary for discussion and possible action. Approval of the regular meeting summary of June 3rd, 2014. Has everyone had a chance to review that?
I saw no problem. With that, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Approve minutes.
First and a second, any discussion? Place your votes. That also passes this evening. 6 yes, 1 abstain. Next planning commission meeting is set for July 1st, 2014. With that, I would entertain a motion of dismissal.
I so move.
Second.
First and a second, place your votes. We are adjourned.
would be appropriate use.
Your opportunity here pretty quick.
Seriously.
I'm hoping real